I'm gonna make a suggestion here.
Okay, does everybody got a light?
A light.
Light, let there be light. Wait, leave it, wait, don't
How
touch
about that?
it.
No way.
No, I have no idea. I plugged in my,
Battery turned around?
Flashing yellow.
Number 5?
Oh, Jonathan leaves the whole place falls.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
Well. Becky, I'm gonna have to have you log in
Speakers.
on this thing.
No. This is a moving box.
It doesn't.
Don't have the touch, Sheriff.
Okay.
Okay, that's.
There's my, we're past one.
Then they need to turn it on up there.
Rolling tonight. We're selling beef.
That was 4.
Sorry, 2 different things. I see that. Sorry about that.
That's all
Well,
right.
go
Okay, let's try this.
go to somebody, just use somebody else.
We're selling burgers.
Yeah, right there. City might sell it all out.
Frozen and fresh.
While you're doing that, I'm gonna, can I go ahead and start?
Still not sure.
Oh, okay. I'm down to my last few packages, so if you're
How was
there,
it?
sign this. Good. I wouldn't be asking you to buy for it.
Got that, we got roast and steaks too.
You'll have to Kelly. No, can you still log in over here and over here? Okay.
Freezer burger, price.
Come on, Mr. Chairman, let's get this rolling.
What's the old saying? Technology is fabulous as long as it works.
Okay.
It wouldn't take my password. I don't know why. Good morning, everybody. We'd like to, it's after 9 o'clock, need to get started. Mr. Simonton. Mr. Simonton's not listening. Yeah. All right. Good morning.
What number are you, John?
All right. I see everyone is here except for Arlen, Mr. McLean.
You want to do roll call?
Yep, go ahead.
Jim Sheeline,
Here.
Arlen McLean, Tom Kitson,
Present.
Lara Mamini,
Here.
Doug Farster,
Here.
Rick Humphrey,
Here.
Tim Bivens. Thank you.
All right, we'll go around the room. I know why you guys are here, so I'll come back to you guys after, because we're gonna go to you, right away anyway. So back of the room. You have anything for us?
She has to come up here and talk. Gotta come up.
Okay, would you like to come up and we'll do that right now? So if you like to come up, you need to be mic'd.
And please state your name for the record, please.
No, you need to be in the mic. Yeah.
Obviously, like everybody else, we were closed due to COVID. First time we were closed was March 15th, 2020 to July 1st. Second time we were closed was October 1st, 2020 to May 30th, 2021. Obviously, like everybody else, we lost lots of money. We had to go Uber, the Uber way, freezer, the Uber way, utilities kept coming, insurance kept coming. Everything. The light. Now, we still have to have your light active so that when government does can reopen, you're ready. So we're just here, this thanks gentleman from the huddle, told us that there may still be funds available. We remodeled the inside of our restaurant while we were closed because it started pouring and being closed that long. we ran some- March. Yeah, that the government said that it's a real thing, but we weren't ready. So, that was where we did there. But before the initial closing, we needed a new parking lot, we need dining, we needed a riverfront, we need, a seawall, and that was the direction, that was the trajectory that we were taking. Before the closure, and then of course, closure, everything was that. So here we are, still getting all of these things. So, we actually did get, got two VIPL, grants for $5,000 each. And as far as grant money goes, that's pretty much all we have for grant. The city catering, very important fight, that was like, $2,000 each, right? And that's the extent of any, grant money or anything like that. So compared to what we've lost, it's dropped the bucket, and I ask you, anybody to give me everything about anyone was, but if there are funds available, we'd like to use them.
So if I could, Jim, Paul,
Oh, there you go.
we do have a program now available for small business. And it's there's an application up on our website under the ARPA page. Great. So if you can fill that out and we can get it to the correct people, and then we can take that into consideration for you.
Very
Okay.
good.
You know what? I'll take it.
There you go. Thanks for coming in, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right. Ooh, there it is.
Did I do that?
I will make sure.
Okay.
It hasn't started yet.
Greg, do you have anything for us? Or you got everything on your agenda? Is there anything else?
Yeah, everything's just on the agenda. That's all I have.
Okay, sounds good. Kevin, anything else? We've got you on the agenda as well.
A reminder, the open house coming up, the Fort County Board. With the steps, if anybody like for the EOC,
And that's when?
right, the Fort County Board next week.
County Board next week. Okay,
Should be on Encore also.
super. Okay, Paul,
Nothing.
Amy, Nancy, Paula, John.
Couple agenda items.
Okay, Marilyn,
Just keeping track of you.
cool. Michael,
Not a thing, Mr. Chair, thanks.
all right. Committee have anything for us right off the bat? Okay. Yes, sir. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. Yeah, Stacy, do you have anything for us? And then Stacy goes. There she is.
Yeah. Good morning. I just wanted
Morning.
to let everybody know that we have a Veterans Treatment Court graduation set for Tuesday of next week. And then we also have a drug court graduation set for Wednesday. I think an email was sent out yesterday to everybody in regards to those graduations. It'd be very nice if we could have a few representatives from the board to be there. So if anybody can, we would be great to have you. Thank you.
Thank you, Stacy. All right. We have approval of minutes. Is there any additions or corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes. Moved by Forrester, seconded by Bivens. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Bye.
All opposed, motion carried. Treasurer's report, monthly report. Paula, what do you got for us?
Well, the reports are out there, so if you guys want to take a look at it and have any questions, let me know. The one thing I think we're going to change next month is we're going to add another page to that with the ARPA, tracking ARPA for you guys. So other than that, questions?
Any questions for Paula? Paula?
Aren't they with the fiscal year?
So the We presented the quarterly report last month through February, which was the first quarter of the fiscal year. Oh, yeah, we probably just need to correct to that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We actually did do it last month.
Welcome. Good question. All right, we've got, next up is Insurance Committee and Gredco reports. Liam, do you have anything from Gredco? I know insurance, we don't have anything from insurance until next month. All right, we will go to them here in a second. In fact, right now, this is the second. With us this morning is Jason Anderson and Andy Shaw, who is going to talk about what's going on over at Stewart and a grant opportunity, and just giving us an update of what they've got going on in the enterprise zone and whatnot over there at Stewart. So thank you, guys.
I'm a big visual guy, so I like to bring it up. Good morning, all. Thank you so much for the invitation to come forward and talk a little bit about what we're planning to do here in the county on the economic development side. I don't know if you saw this morning's paper, the story of the city of Dixon looking at redoing their, putting out a bond for the pension liabilities, and that will, as the mayor and the city manager say, will free up a lot of money for economic development in the city. And I think I want to applaud them for that, because that's exactly what needs to happen if economic development is going to occur. You got to have a plan. You got to have a way in which you fund it. Well, what we're going to talk about today is the EDA, the Economic Development Administration, has a program whereby they will fund economic development planning studies. And one of the things we've been wanting to do for quite some time is look at this is the county line. This is where all the development has occurred north of the county line at the intersection of 39 and 88. And this 1,000 acres right here, south of the county line, is an area that the city of Rochelle and Rochelle Municipal Utilities and Rochelle Railroad have been building infrastructure into Lee County. Today, there's a water tower, 21-inch sewer line, 16-inch water line, a $7 million rail yard over here, a planned rail yard on this side, for the city to extend the rail system here. And today, this is the only area that we have that's larger than 30 acres. We have no lots larger than 30 acres left north of the county line. This is, of course, is eliminating the opportunity to bring projects, economic development projects. So what we want to propose today is that in your support to do this study, to basically look at where the utility easements need to lie, how the transportation plan is developed. One of the things that has been long on our map is Sheriff Simonson very well aware of this. We've had conversations about this. Is building a bypass around the village of Stewart. Village of Stewart sits right here, and the idea of reestablishing Elba Road, building an overpass to 39 and Mulford Road, and coming back around to where you can get onto 39 without having to go across the BNSF twice, without having to go through the center of the village of Stewart. The idea here is we need a transportation. Now, the key to funding, any infrastructure project is to show that plan is something that we've not had. We've done a lot. The city has done a lot with utilities that I mentioned, water, sewer, power, rail, into this 1,000-acre area, but there's no comprehensive plan as to how you're going to develop it. Where's the stormwater? Where do the road? How much road widening do you need? How do you get the bypass around the village of Stewart built and funded? So EDA has these technical assistance planning grants that I'm going to let Andy talk to you about. And it's a $250,000 grant that will fund the study. $50,000 has been committed by the Enterprise Zone Board. The Lee Oval Enterprise Zone Board, of course, collects funds from businesses and industries that locate in the enterprise zone, and then in return for that, they get economic development. So the enterprise zone board approved $50,000 out of their treasury to put towards the study. And it's a $250,000. 50% match required. So Andy can talk a little bit about the application, the process in which it goes forward, and then we can answer. Well, first of all, do you have any questions about what I've already shared? Yes, sir.
You're saying it's a 50% match. In other words, we got to come up with $125,000 to get the $125,000 to do the study.
You got the $50,000 has already been committed by the enterprise.
That's
So it's $75,000 gap. We need to raise to come up with that. So it's 125,000, 125,000. And we had thought originally that there would only be a 20% match because the EDA had funds to do this, and by the time we got there, funds were gone in that pot. So there's other pots of money with the EDA, and in this case, the pot of money is a 50% match and not a 20%. But in terms of the application, we'll talk a little bit about how the application works.
Yeah, this program is more standard. Yeah, that side we thought at east. That particular program empty. Additional part, but this area, we call it the Aaron Road, Stewart Road, Delta Corridor. This is really the key area. Full level street, production development, due to existing infrastructure, railroad, starting to happen. Rochelle has pushed a little bit in Lee County, build infrastructure, sewer, water, and things are going to happen there. But proper planning really is key to doing that good way. This project area is big industrial to the county, Stewart Elementary School, which is and City of Rochelle. So this is definitely the county jurisdiction. For the county, are set to be good things. So just wanted to mention that, but in a plan like this, what they're looking to do is having existing and future needs fully vetted and developed transportation and development models to figure out which one makes the most sense for that land use, freight and traffic flow of the area. Stakeholders then, those would be City of Rochelle, Village of Stewart is involved in this already. D County representative, OCIA, Kevin Mark, Redco, and IDOT, or also helping that. The component is the work for cluster analysis of the street and sometimes and small areas being too low. That's not about us. But we want to have these ready to say where workforce is now.
What's so key about this is the thing. Site selection, those are the people who corporation. What you think corporation type. All over the country, you're looking for a location, build a manufacturing. And they come into a community, and I had this sign in my office when I took the job 17 years ago, I never understood it, but really. The sign said this: site selection, site elimination. Site selection, site elimination. Site selectors do not go out to select a site, they go out to eliminate as many sites possible, and then they do. And what happens oftentimes to eliminate a prospective site is that there's no plan for transportation, there's no plan for water and sewer, there's no plan for safety, there's no plan for work. Right? There's no zoning in it, or it's not annexed, or there's no cooperative effort going on between units of government, townships, counties, municipalities. There's not a cohesive collaborative effort, site selectors taking on. We're trying to get Lee County in this area on every site selector's list. So we can populate this with good paying jobs and new investment, new tax base. That all starts. That's what we're talking about today. The EDA fund is the plan to then bring forward the justification for infrastructure funding, like for instance, upgrade to Steel Road, which we all know needs to be done. Steel Road is easy. And you will find funding, and I can tell you, case after case after case, you will find funding for legitimate economic development projects. You can show them the plan, and you can show the collaboration and cooperation. So the village of Stewart has signed a letter supporting the grant that will fund the survey. Currently, Chairman Olson has provided a letter of support to this. This is Rochelle's provided. Enterprise Zone has contributed $50,000. So for us to be able to go forward with this grant application, we need economic development funds for about $75,000 grant.
So ballpark, if we get this and we have a plan, that leaves us open to getting other grants, correct? Ballpark, what kind of match do you usually have to put for those grants?
Anywhere from 50% to none.
Okay,
It depends on the type of grant,
Yeah.
it depends on the source.
okay,
We have received it. And here's the key, even Rochelle success, let's just take this Stewart Road over.
hmm
That was a project 10 years ago about creating grade separation for the ENSF. We went to the ICC, we went to the EDA, we went to the Broad Throws Pathway, we went to the county of Oval, we went to the city of Rochelle, and together we were able to put the funding to build a $6 million overpass. What did that overpass do? It created probably about $400 million in GDP. Because all those factors.
hmm right, right,
So it's really an effort of getting yourself eligible,
right.
putting the plan together, share.
At this point, Lee County has zero skin in the game. We've got $0. Am I correct in this project up there?
Yeah, you haven't spent any money to take it on the world. Now, one of the things that I think is really key is that the county, the village of Stewart, the city of Rochelle, all work together to promote this grant applications. And then that sets the table. And actually, I was going to say this earlier, I forgot. This is all this land, which is roughly 1,400 acres, is all the legal enterprise. 5 years ago, we said, you know what, this has the greatest potential for industrial development. Let's put that land in the enterprise. Because you have a selection as to where you want enterprise zone has to go. We put all of this in the enterprise. So that's already in the enterprise. That's really key. Because that's a benefit. City of Rochelle, has over the course of 15 years, added a water well, we did it for Brown. We based road improvements, we built the sewer road back. We've done this in bits and pieces, but we don't have a real comprehensive plan. As to how to do this going into the town. We've done it all north of the county line. It's now time to put the plan together. Put it- And it will make this area far more marketable. Site selectors come, you can really avoid being checked off the list. We can actually take some of this land, which is very, very high and dry, some of it's pretty low and wet. Not all of it's lower. But the study will help us really market here. And I think, okay, going back to the example of Dixon, doing that's been doing for several years, getting that corridor south of town here, develop, looking at how they could really start to build more tax base in the city, putting that down, development, funding that they have available, and plan to bring more economic development funds. It's like anything else. You got to spend some money. But today, I mean,
I think it's like
About 12%.
You want to put this in some perspective, take a look at all the development that occurred north of the county line, at this corridor here. I'm going to say there's something in the area of about $100 million. EAV, equalized assessed value of Rochelle in 2005, I think it was $100 billion for the entire community. Today it's 275 million. Most of that is because of the.
Here, Jason, if I think to answer Rick's question, remember, Rick, that because we're a different taxing district, a pre-annexation agreement does not affect the income into the county, because that's not, we would still.
Added that.
Yeah.
This is why the farm manager.
Be no different than the city of Dixon annexing, south of town. Yeah.
The only thing is, revenue will rise because of all the PAUs we had. So you look at Old County, right? All the PAUs, power plant project, Old
Yeah.
County, right? Well, the same situation is in Rochelle. All this industrial growth has added a whole lot of new revenue to the county of Oakland because of all the taxes. Yeah.
I think the county we're still going to get, I think it's 9%, closer to 9%, 0.89 or somewhere in there. The county's take of the EAV and comparable, I think Lee County's got about 850 million EAV. So this is a big project. This is, this will be huge up here. We'll still get.
Tax bill, what proportion would be county taxes?
Well, I mean, often, talking a lot of. I can assure you, you get a return. Question I can't answer. Nobody can. What you invest. But the way Rochelle's a private bank, but we've gotten over $60 million in grant funds last. 60 million. You probably match that at a level of about 2%. Because we simply have taken. Now here's kind of how the game works when it comes to grant infrastructure. Economic development is a huge magnet for grant funds. Why? Yeah. Why? So I'll tell you a secret. We're going overpass with a perfect example. I just gave you an example of how many different units of government and different agencies pay for this, right? The moment I landed the $3 million in EDA, the ICC said, oh, well, we'll match that. So they did like 40%. The ICC said, well, we'll do 40%. And then the BNSF said, well, we'll do 5%. The county said, we'll do 5%. My point is that there's resources that really help you offset your internet. And there's another aspect of this, right? Private developers, when they see you've got the water there, the sewer there, the rail there, and they don't have to put the money in to do it, they will say, well, what do you need? Well, we need to go to, how much is that? That's gonna be $2 million. Okay, I'll pick up that. So the whole point I want to make this morning that I want to go is the idea that for any of this to happen, we need to do it. And to get the plan, we need to raise money to pay for it. And at this point in time, $1,000 enterprise zone, the city of Rochelle, just to put this in perspective, Randy Frecker, the law, but enterprise zone funding comes in is paid for by business. About 80% of 80% of the funding that goes to the enterprise zone comes out of the. So we're not asking for anything we haven't already ourselves. But we need to help get it up. The timing is the you got to get this grant out. Turned in, EDA, but they will. We've got long. And they quite honestly are very excited about that. They've already said, what is those bills? Yeah, today, this is $7 million for this rail project here. There's about $13 million in the well and power, another $4 million on the radiant plant. So, and then, then the sewer line, about $30 million. It's all in the county. What we build in Lincoln. That doesn't take you, well, there's an additional, almost $1 million in land that is purchased. So the rail right away that runs all the way to the village of Stewart and all the rail right away. So yeah, $35 million over the last.
Jason, I know this maybe is getting down in the weeds, but let's say this Alva Road exit and entrance ramp comes to fruition. Is there any potential purchase of property on the east side of I-39? I guess what I'm looking at is, are you looking at services provided at that interchange as well? Because right now in Lee County, we have none on any of our exit or entrance ramps off I-39. I'm looking at fuel, truck stops, restaurants, things of that nature. Because if the trucks are coming off, avoiding Stewart, which is a great idea, they'll also use that convenience when they get off the interstate.
You had a proposal in front of you a few years ago, put a truck stop down on third.
Correct.
And there was no utility. That was a big issue. The goal here is the water and sewer system today goes to Hayes Road. The plan is to provide water and sewer. Right now, commercial development at that intersection is challenging, right? But that's what Rochelle can offer. One of the things the village of Stewart is about 28 feet closer to the sun than our wastewater treatment plant is in Rochelle. So the sewer will run. I guess you shouldn't quote that either. All sewer runs through your community, but it does run to our community. So yes, that's a very key point because that development is the corner of Perry Road and 35 is there. There's a lot of different ways to do revenue. Probably you mentioned Rick, right? How many residents now stay in rural America now? We have an opportunity in history because of the highway system, road, utility system, railroad. For this part of rural America to thrive, if we do so, we have to have a plan. That plan will help us with funding, will help us build out different track. I'm not sitting here saying it's about funding Piper. It's proof, we did it here. Took it 40 years. Taken 40 years to do all this. But you know what? We are so poised because of the infrastructure already there for this growth to occur. But I would be, if I'm sitting on your side of the table, Rick, I would say the same thing. Well, how much is this gonna cost and how much, well, you know what? The plan will help us understand it. And then we can work together to figure out how we better.
I just had a couple questions to add to this. So you're requesting 75,000 from Lee County. Is that where we're at with
Yeah,
this?
I understand you have business development, economic development funding available, and I thought would be a good time to come and ask for this purpose.
Sure. I need to know that and the time frame we're working with. What kind of time frame?
So the application. You said it's the
There's
application.
not a part of like how that is regular. Less
If
type.
if they discuss this and decide they want to do it the next county board meeting next month. Okay, we will discuss it, okay? Yeah, I think, here's the thing, this study will take a year. And it's not a year that I really feel like a cap.
Yeah, we need to get moving on it. Yeah. Tom.
6 years. I also, Arnold and I came over that. This was infancy at that point. We all knew this would be. Great. You guys now own that land. Well, at that point, it had options. This 1,000 acres is all around. And the Greater Rochelle Economic Development Corporation spent about $10,000 a year doing this. And one reason that was used, something called against those guys paid. Because we bought them also. They. Yes, I'm glad you asked that, because here's what happened, is that we were looking at this, and one of the site selector issues are, have you done environmental, one study, archaeological, soil boring? Well, yeah, so Redco took this far, and LCIA took that far, and we spent about $70,000 together to do all those studies. Because that's a checklist. We were able, Greco went ahead and signed the contract with Fair Grant did all the studies and provided the reports. And we were able to give LTIA the money back in 2 years. The city bought this land here that Greco owned. When they bought it, it added the cost of the due diligence for the price of the land. We turned around and paid LTIA. See, that's how successful economic development organizations work. Well, and further, I support this group, talk about it for 6 years. What development? It's like, I'd like to see LCIA involved in this funding of this grant. Oh, question you can ask that. I mean, that is at one point, and I know that fell apart. Down. Well, Kevin Marks now attended the Greco Board, and I attended LCIA. And we communicate back and forth much more. And I understand the county now, the LCIA are working collaboratively on another. And what I really want to just, I know I've lived in Dixon for 4 years. So much of the resources are right here in the state. But you got a whole county down there who's got a potential to do a lot of significant things. That's what I said. Mayor Ariana was quoted in City Manager Langlois about, they have an economic development plan with millions of dollars in this area right here. I would like to see the county doing that. Potential there. Interstate highway, right? All these things, assets like I-80, I-39, and the railroad, keep the coverage of growing. The plan that we're talking about, they will help. That basically, when you raise the map, let all follow.
Any further questions? So as we talked about, so there is no specific, this is not an agenda item. This is there, we don't have a proposal to spend money at this point in time. I think what we'll do, Jason, is that if you would get together with Wendy, and we'll put that together in agenda form, get it on the agenda for next month's meeting, and then we'll go forward from there.
Sure. Any of you have any questions or comments, please don't hesitate to call me. I think all of you would never know that you here. Or cell phone or comments. But this is a great opportunity. We're at a crossroads right now, not overly great. Whether we're going to be able to keep moving forward with all of this economic development opportunities because of all the infrastructure that's there or not. And if we lose the opportunity now, the main difference, we're headed for the recession, everybody said, right? But there's an end of every recession. The last recession, Rochelle added 4 industries. 2008 to 2012, we had 4 industries. You know why that happened? Because companies that think ahead know the recession is coming ahead. Then there's an opportunity. This is a key time, and I hope that you all will find a reason.
Bob?
I think we need to put this on the ARPA agenda. I think this would fit our ARPA commitment. So maybe our ARPA meeting, we'll make sure we discuss this at next month's ARPA. So.
All right. All right, thanks, Jason. Thanks, Andy. Okay, moving on to the agenda.
When is our next ARPA?
We're in old business. And we're at point A, compensation for elected officials. That needs to be taken off the table. So I'd entertain motion to bring compensation for elected officials off the table. Moved by Bivens, seconded by Kitson. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed? Motion carried. Okay, Wendy.
So what you have attached in your packet was my attempt at gathering information to give you the right information to make a decision today. So again, attached in onboard is a document entitled Elected Officials Compensation. You're going to start off with at the top of that document with just the current salaries, where we're at today. So you've got base salary, local stipend, and state stipend for a total annual compensation. The next section there is historical perspective. Many of you were probably on the board during this period of time, but if you weren't, just a refresher, there was a philosophy about 16 years ago or so by then Finance Chairman Rick Ketchum to shorten the gap between the elected and appointed department head officials and the regular, everyday, ordinary employee. And the philosophy was, let's slow down the raises on the department heads and let's ramp up the raises on the lower end, the regular employee, what I'll call the regular employee. So what you're seeing there is the impact of that. So for 16 years, starting December 1, 2006, all the way through December 1st, 2021, you'll see what those elected officials received, which in the case of the clerk treasurer, which right now is been, their salaries are exactly the same. A 16-year percentage of change, 1.3%. On the sheriff's side, 1.1%. So over those 16 years, the clerk treasurer got $11,300 in total over that period of time. And the sheriff received, the sheriff position received $11,499. So I wanted to point that out to give you a little historical perspective when you make this decision. The last thing that I did in terms of providing information was to look at the UCCI salary survey that comes out every year. Now, I want to be clear, the salary survey is only as good as those counties that bother to respond to it. And I think the counties that respond are somewhere in the neighborhood of 50 to 65% of them. But of those that responded, I selected the counties that were most comparable to Lee County in terms of population and median household income. Doesn't matter if the population is equal to Lee County if the median household income is dramatically different, in my opinion. So what you're seeing there is for the clerk treasurer, what I did is I took the 5 jurisdictions that I felt were the closest out of that salary survey. So for example, the median county clerk salary was $69,001. The median treasurer salary was $69,508. And the median sheriff salary was $84,000. This, by the way, reflects the base salary. It doesn't reflect the state stipend or the local stipend that may be given. So with that said, I put together a chart and threw it out to Jim for some feedback, in which I thought at the very least, we needed to get these appointments or positions to the median salary in year 1 and then address the rest of the years. Theoretically, what I threw out here was a quote regular salary increase, which before that 16-year period when the philosophy was to, kind of shrink that gap, the regular increases might have been something in the neighborhood of about 3% per year. And that was happening both for regular staff and department heads. But again, we got away from that about 16 years ago. So what you see there in that chart is a result of the conversations between Jim and I think we're prepared to throw it out to you as an initiation of conversation and discussion. So with that said, I'll throw it back to you, Jim.
All right, thank you, Wendy, appreciate it. So what you have in front of you is a basically a recommendation that Wendy and I and Bob put together for you guys to consider. And so now, let's have at it. Let's talk about it. And, we tried to keep things reasonable. Everybody has different philosophies. I don't necessarily, Wendy described the philosophy that former board chairman had. I don't necessarily subscribe to that. But anyway, we thought in coming up with this was a reasonable addition for our elected officials. Because one of the things that we really want to be careful with is we do not want to get behind the curve in regards to salaries. And that's true with all of our employees, and our elected officials are no different. We want quality people to want to run for these positions. We don't need to be the top, we don't need to be top of the scale. And I think if you look at what this proposal does, it keeps us almost in the median. So anyway, having said that, Mr. Bivens.
Problem I think, Steve, is that you share the part that depends on what other employees do. This doesn't correct that situation. The sheriff's department, they have 6 employees making more than the sheriff right now. This started 20 years ago when the board of that time was formed by myself. We kind of continue down this road. We have people making more than the sheriff, who's running a lot of sheriff. So that's where we're at. If you notice, there's no. It's about a discouraging remark on the only candidate for the office right there retiring. But the 6 most qualified people in the department did not pursue the higher office because they don't think care. I think what we would look at overtime. I think that in this case, I don't know, I don't the other people. You have an employee making more than what I call CEO or department head. That's not something. Track qualified. We were hiring for, we hired because
Tim, can I ask you a question, or John, either one? Now, it used to be that anybody could run for sheriff. I mean, you did not have to have a law enforcement background in order to run for sheriff. Now, obviously that, 99% of the time, but I thought there was going to be a legislative fix, a bill that was introduced that made it a requirement.
Safety Act has that provision in there that you have to have a minimum basic requirement of the law enforcement academy before you can apply or run for the office of sheriff.
And that was the bill that was signed into law. So that's current statute now. That you have to
That'll
have.
be moving forward. Any sheriffs that are currently in office and running again, they'll be grandfathered in, but any new sheriffs that are running will have to have that academy training certificate.
Way it's set up now. That's pretty good. Higher. I see. More than yeah. One, calories and then, yeah. So, you want to make this clear. Anyway, that would be my. This won't do the product. You give $4,000 raise.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Booth. Any other comments? Come on, guys, this isn't church. Tom?
Yeah, I agree. I would hate like hell that my church would make one more like what I'm saying though. Very much money. Our budget. This is my thought. We're get to find that money.
Rick, I know you want to weigh in on this. I know you do. It's ruminating. I feel the waves up here.
I agree with that. I mean, it's an unfortunate situation. Thing that seemed to have got here today. Well, one about that. Some of match we have levels. You guys can help actually. I was from that. Not.
And as we talked before, we want to be fair with our people. We want to be able to attract good candidates into our offices. Doug, do you have anything to add? Yeah, as you'll see as we go down the agenda. So Liram.
Which, those are the three individuals that are running for election, Liram. So by statute, we have to set their salaries for the next 4 years, 180 days prior to them taking office. However, I will share with you that the circuit clerk traditionally has been, the salary has been consistent with this. And in the last 16 years, it looks as though circuit clerk was also added to this. Now that doesn't have to be set right now, but the fact is that position hasn't had any sort of allocation of a raise made for it since 4 years ago. So we do need to talk about that one too.
No, it'd be under, it would be a budget and normally budgeted item in general. Yep. Marilyn.
I just went back and looked at the FOP contract. And what I see is the highest paid officer. And then add 25% if they are a lieutenant. We are very close to the proposal. So I don't think it's going to take a huge amount to widen that gap a little bit. I understand the need for the person in charge to be compensated more than the person underneath them. But I don't think it's a huge gap the way I'm looking at the numbers right now.
Well, currently the chief deputy is making 30% above base at $91,215. The sheriff's making $79,363. So there's a pretty significant gap there.
But
The
you have
chief
to take
deputy is
into
not in the
account our
contract,
stipends,
which is
John.
What I'm looking at.
Pardon?
I don't believe the chief deputy is in the contract, which is what I'm looking at.
Yeah, but we have to look at all salaries in the department. His salary.
But how is
set
the
at
chief
30%.
deputy's salary set?
That was set by resolution about 4 years ago, 2019.
Okay,
Well, and John, when that individual that currently holds chief deputy, and I'm assuming this because this is in my experience, this is what you do when you wouldn't necessarily hold that salary for that position with somebody that doesn't have the level of experience the current person has. I mean, is that fair or is that? So
Well, that would
what I'm
be
saying is it's
30%
possible
above-
that
if it's-
that number is going to come down, you know.
It's possible, but that's 30% above his or her base based on years of experience in the sheriff's office.
okay, and
So at this point in time, obviously Dave Buster's our chief. He's got 26 years in, so he's going to have one of the highest salaries because of his years of service. You put a chief deputy in that's only got 15 years, for example, it will be a lesser amount, of course.
Sure.
Okay.
But what's happening is just like Mr. Bivens was saying, you can see if you look at the chart I gave you, the Excel sheet, just to explain it real briefly, in yellow is the highest paid for each year, the highest paid salary. So it was a lieutenant in patrol operations for the first 4 years, 2015 through 18. And I just went back to when I started. That was Todd, and he had the most years of experience at that time. The chief deputy's salary was not set. Yes. Base, everything's base here. I just wanted to keep everything the same. And then you'll see in blue, the blue just indicates that those salaries are higher than the sheriff, not the highest in the department, but they're higher than the sheriff. So you'll see moving downward through 2022, that the sheriff is either the fourth or the fifth highest paid, depending on the years of service of that employee at the time in that position. And then in 2019, like I explained, is that when the chief deputy salary was set by resolution. So I can't really say much more than Mr. Bivens did. Industry standard anywhere, you know, the CEO, president, chairman of the board, whoever it might be, should be the highest paid. Do they need to be significantly higher? I'm not advocating for that, but it should be something higher than the employees that are supervising. And as he also mentioned, what I think is extremely important, because I had these conversations over the last 2 years when I was anticipating retirement, is encouraging those command staff personnel to take a look at the position of sheriff. And because they do have the experience, they do have the knowledge, internal knowledge of this department and the employees that are there, the transition would be very smooth. And we're looking for those internal people to take over that position at some point in time. And while they were interested in doing something like this, when they look at their retirement and the salary that they're making right now, they're going to take for instance, the chief deputy, you know, on a $12,000 cut in pay, which also impacts his retirement. So they're not going to be taking a cut in pay to take a job with much more responsibility. So therefore, we're not really working towards trying to bring those people to a position to run our sheriff's office that are working there already. And I guess my last comment would be on the comparables, and I thank you for doing that, Wendy. We've all been aware of comparables. Anybody that's been in union negotiations for a number of years, we do use comparables. I think that's a good starting point, but you can't rely on those 100%, because when you look at comparables, you also have to look at what the revenue sources for those counties are. Some may be more fluent than Lee County, some may not. Some may be more supportive of certain elected officials, department heads, law enforcement in their communities, and they want to pay them a little bit more. I guess the most important part of the comparables for me, though, is when you're looking at the department head salaries in those comparables, have we also asked those specific counties, what are your employees getting paid? Are they getting paid less than your department head? And in Lee County, there's only one department head that I know of that's getting paid less than his employees or her employees, and that's the sheriff.
So when we look at what Wendy put together for, you know, since we're talking about the sheriff, we'll just concentrate on that. So you can see the median of the selected counties that is in the chart. Median was 84,000. So we are behind, you know, from median perspective, we are below those selected counties. So the proposal would be is taking the base salary for December of 22. I'm looking at the wrong thing. Okay, base salary would be moving that up to 84,000. And let's not include and oh, Wendy, do you want to mention what we did in regards to the EMA stipend?
So, Mr. Tim, can you tell me, did that $2,500 stipend for the EMA take place? My recollection was that when you were sheriff, we ended up without somebody in the position of EMA, and you were asked to take it over, and there was a stipend that went along with that. Do you recall, was that when it started? Yeah. Okay, so I was confusing that 2,500. So shout out to, I guess, John and Sheriff. That was a local decision that was made years ago, and it still exists. Yeah.
County does
I
have
called
the-
it a local because I couldn't find any state reference for that. So what Jim was referring to here, what I ended up doing is just consolidating into that recommendation for 84,000. I do want to, I wonder if we're not as, if we're a lot closer than everybody thinks we are. So let me throw this out to you, Tim. Your suggestion was to look at something that is a percentage over and above, in the case of right now, it's the chief deputy. And I think, John Sheriff, you threw out something that was in the neighborhood along the same concept of something in the neighborhood of 92,000, because again, you approached this from a 2% over and above what the chief deputy makes, I think was one of your proposals. So if the chief deputy obviously doesn't get any sort of state stipend and doesn't get the $2,500 stipend. So if you take that into account, our total compensation for year one is at 90,500. John's proposal was for 92. He probably wasn't including the state stipend there, but if you think about that, if you think about the state stipend that the sheriff gets, we're only a couple $1,000s apart from each other here, because chief deputy or none of the other employees will qualify for that. And that does go for compensation, and that does qualify him for the retirement and all of the other items, but it's a state funded piece of it. It's not a local funded piece.
Stipends aren't guaranteed. It's each year I've been here, we had to fight for that stipend. The one you're talking about that comes from the state. So that's not guaranteed by any means. And like Tim was saying earlier, the $2,500 safety director stipend is again a county decision. So either of those stipends can go away. So that's not guaranteed, and I don't think should be included in the base salary when we're comparing apples to apples on the sheet that I provided.
I would only use it as a comparable if you're comparing it to your own staff salary. I mean, think about total compensation. And John, I know that these stipends statewide, they have been under fire for many years, as John mentioned. But so far they've held up every time. There've been lawsuits regarding these and they've held up every time. So while there is risk there, I would argue the risk is probably pretty minimal.
Liram, then Rick.
What we're laying out there, Laram, is the next 4 years, a raise in each of the next 4 years at the bottom of the chart there. You see the December 1, 2022, December 1, 2023, and et cetera.
Rick? No, no.
Well, I don't know if this helps or not, Rick, but if you look at on the sheet that I gave you under lieutenant, that's currently Lieutenant Matt Fry, who's got about 22 years on right now. And just for a matter of conversation, I'm not saying he's the next chief deputy, okay? But let's say he is. He's being paid right now at 25% above his base. So if you got a calculator right now, you just take that salary, it's 30% would be what he would make, 30% above his base. So it'd be relatively close to that 90,000 mark if he was then appointed as chief deputy. Points, correct. Correct. Whoever within the department, yes.
Liram. I'm going to answer that is the answer is probably yes. And of course, some of that is going to be dependent upon what, as Marilyn pointed out, looking at what the FOP contract does as well. So there's going to be, and this is a little bit, my philosophy, and I understand what you're saying, Mr. Bivens and Sheriff Simonton, but the problem is that we're setting a fixed salary that we're setting for every 4 years, a schedule for every 4 years, and you don't know what against an unknown, because that FOP contract is always going to be a variable. And we don't know what that variable is going to be, because it's a less year of a contract. So depending on what the circumstances are, we're trying to set something that's basically in stone going ahead against a variable is the way I look at it. So Tim, you want to rebut? So. Marilyn.
I understand the problem that, the sheriff needs to be compensated more than his employees. My concern with this is we're talking about everything as a percentage above what is in the FOP contract. The sheriff and the chief deputy sit at the table on our side of those negotiations, but yet there's a conflict there because their salary is based off that FOP contract in a percentage.
Okay. Rebuttal.
Tying a salary to a contract that's a bad idea. Just FYI. I'm not saying that you shouldn't get a decent salary. I think tying it to the FOP contract is a mistake.
Okay, so kind of I really appreciate the conversation and discussion here today. I think how I'm going to proceed is we're going to break these out one at a time, and we'll adopt something in one package. But let's do a discussion on each individual one and kind of put one to bed, and then we'll move on to the next one. So we've been talking about the sheriff. Let's put sheriff to bed. So right now we have a proposal before you of moving the sheriff's base salary for fiscal year 22 to 84,000. State stipend, we're assuming that's going to be maintained there. With total compensation of 90,500. So let's start from there, and let's talk about how we'd want to move that. What would be the proposal that you would want to move if you want to move, and let's try to get something on the table. So this is the recommendation coming from myself as committee chair. If you want to amend it, here's your opportunity to amend it. Go ahead, Tim.
I'm talking to the microphone. I can't hear you.
This one's where, why would they sign up? That's weird. When we get the new ones in?
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Hear you now.
Okay.
Okay, are you on now, Tim?
You hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Go ahead.
If you're looking for amendment, I would already suggest what I've suggested, that it be a percentage above the highest salary, or maybe, as was discussed, the second two there on the sheriff's list. But again, I don't think there's a support for that, but I would certainly make that the amendment.
Okay, so, and what would be the percentage? So we'd be talking percentage off of the base chief deputy salary?
Yes.
And it'd be 10%, 15%, 10% above the chief deputy salary, base salary. Okay, we have a motion on the floor for amendment to the proposal for the sheriff's salary to be 10% above the chief deputy's salary. I'd entertain us. Does everybody clear on the motion? What the motion would be? Okay,
Well, it would be, if it goes up, then it would go up under contract, but that's, again, that's a board decision whether it goes up.
Okay, I'd entertain a second.
Another question.
Mhm.
So Tim, what you're saying.
Well, yeah, and let's have, I'd ask for a second, and then we can have discussion. Okay,
There you go. Second.
well, Laram beat you to it, but all right. Laram seconds the motion. So discussion on the motion. Doug.
Okay, real quick. So if I'm, Tim, if I'm hearing you right, you're saying you want a 9,000 basically raise. Is that correct? You're saying 10% above of the chief deputy? Am I hearing that correctly? Be 9,112 bucks.
You gotta go above that 10%.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but he's only at 79,000 now, so it's gonna be a lot more than 10,000.
I would clarify or amend my motion, Mr. Chairman, that we go off the lieutenant and the chief bailiff.
So if I might.
Okay, so
If I might interject, if you want to use that as a philosophy to get to a number, but when we go forward to resolution, we're going to need like a salary dollar amount. So do you want to convert that to a dollar amount, Tim, to get that on? I know the motion and second's already out there, but I'm just saying eventually we're going to need a dollar amount. You're not going to be able to, set the salary at 2% or whatever percentage above an FOP contract member. We're going to need a number.
So I guess, but the way it is right now, chief deputy's base salary, as I read this right from the information John provided us, was 91,215. So you're going to be roughly adding $9,100 to that. So you're talking a salary of a little over $100,000, which what it would be. That would be the base salary for the sheriff, and that would be $21,000 roughly over what that elected official makes right now off a base salary. Yes, plus stipends. Because we're looking strictly over base.
That's up to the board as far as the safety draft. That's what we're talking about. If that's still in existence, the $2,500 that the board can decide not to do that also.
Correct. Lyra.
Question for Wendy. When you did the study of the counties comparison over here, did you see the other counties, chief deputies, lieutenant, jail superintendent?
So Liram,
Are we the only county that has this issue with the sheriff?
I'm not sure, Liram. The UCCI salary survey is where I got this information, and that may be there. I mean, the information may have been there, but I didn't pull it forward.
Further discussion on the motion? Or we were talking, was there a desire to amend the motion?
Well,
And-
yeah. I guess my concern is
Yeah,
still
but-
the same thing, is that comparing to positions, I don't know who's gonna be there in the future and what their salary range is gonna be. Out for, he knows what it is. I'm not saying he doesn't deserve a raise, and I'm all on board for bringing these up. I just, I don't know, it's a big jump.
What is the time? We have 180 days. How far out are we?
So by May, the final decision has to be made at your May board meeting.
So we would have to have something now to make the decision in May.
Yeah, and I would really I mean, that's playing kind of, I don't want to say fast and loose, because, you know, what happens if something, you know, there's a trip up, you know, at May meeting. Yeah,
Right.
well, if we don't.
So,
have a
yeah,
quorum. So I'm looking at this. I mean, we've kicked this around for some time. We've finally, this is the proposal that you have before you. We really need to move something, you know, my intent was to move something this month and get it on the agenda for next week. Okay, motion has been called. All those in favor of the motion of moving to a 10% over the chief deputy salary for the salary of the sheriff, signify by saying aye. Okay, those opposed? Okay, motion fails. Okay, so we're back to the original proposal. Is there any desire to change anything from the salary as proposed? Mr. Humphrey? Okay, Wendy, I think I'll help make.
I think I'm going to defer that to Tim because you had a better handle on what it was than I did. I thought it was the EMA thing. So
I don't,
see, here's the thing. I think we've all lost track of what it was.
it's a supervisor of safety. It's been around for
Yeah.
forever, and it's still 2,500. 2,500.
So yeah, my proposal is that we consolidate it in with the salary, whatever we set, just so we don't lose track of this because none of us seem to know what it's for.
It's called
We don't know.
It's called supervisor of safety. It was established decades and decades ago.
Was that before we had the EMA?
Rick, need to be in the mic, please.
I'm trying. Not working.
Oh, it's still not working. It's lit.
I got stereo here.
Timed
Yeah,
out.
it was established before 1986, so it's been around for a long
I just
time.
wonder if it's time for that to be done with and just address the salary issue head on.
Yeah, and that's what we tried to do. You know, we rolled that into the base salary and so,
Yeah, I guess I want to make sure that's,
yeah,
we're talking apples to apples, so.
correct. My understanding is.
Yes, that's, yes.
Yes, our intent would be.
But there would still
that's-
be the additional state. Yes,
And,
exactly.
and the state stipend on top of that. And so you have total compensation for the sheriffs of 90, on year one of that term. So of course, we're not talking about the current sheriff. We're talking about the incoming sheriff of 90,500. 90,500.
Catch.
79,363. Plus,
So-
plus,
plus the,
Top of that?
right, the stipends go on top of that.
so that would include the
So at the-
2,500, Wendy?
Yeah, at the top of your form, there is the, so he's technically, this current is at 88,363. With the local, whatever stipend and the state stipend, he's at 88,363.
I'll make a motion. I can get on board with that one. that.
Okay,
Go with the proposed base salary of 84.
Right. right. And that's basically what we're doing. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, John just, for the record, John showed me the statute language that goes to that state, that safety stipend that we're talking about. And it gives the authority to the county to do it or not do it, whatever. You know, it's separate, it's a separate conversation from the salary. Yeah, yeah. Oh. Okay. On the sheriff's side of the salary, you have a motion by Humphrey, seconded by Kitson to accept the salary proposal for the sheriff as proposed. And including eliminating county staff. Do we have that? Motion, you ready? Okay, we have the first and the second. Is there any further discussion?
Are we still gonna be the same spot 4 years from now?
Yes. Very possibly.
I think the base salary should be at $90,000.
Got a motion. on the
But
floor.
I know we do, but it's a discussion, okay? I'm not
Nope,
making a
no,
motion.
You're right.
I learned that last time. I got yelled at a couple times. We're gonna be here 4 years again, and I don't know if I'll still be here, but I look at the numbers, we're still gonna be. I know it's a public service for them, but it's public service
The
that they need to
proposal
get paid.
does give increased steps of 4 years. Something like that.
But he'll still be behind. He'll
Yeah,
still be-
the one thing I would say is that and Wendy pointed out, we're probably not hugely apart in huge numbers in regards. I would, as this proposed in defense of the proposal, this is a pretty healthy raise still. Compared to what, as what Wendy put together, what's been done in the past in trying to compress wages. This is, you know, this at least maintains, you know, we may still be to answer your question, Larry, in 4 years, we may still be back having the same conversation. But probably the gap probably is not going to be widened, is what I would think. But of course, that depends, as Marilyn pointed out, depends on what happens in the FOP contract.
I think this is a good opportunity to show the support also because we've given raises to people just because quote unquote, they were nice girls or nice boys.
Yeah.
$4,000 to $7,000 a year.
Okay, any further discussion? We have a motion on the floor to accept the sheriff's salary as proposed. Any further discussion? Eliminating the $2,500 stipend, which would be part of that resolution. Hearing no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed,
No.
motion carries. All right, that's the sheriff is done. Okay, so we've got the clerk and the treasurer's salary to go to. Paula, would you like to make any comments in regards to the what is as proposed?
No, well, maybe yes. I just want to point out that I don't know if there's pushback on this, but it's a whole whopping 3.5%. Raise. The next agenda item on here is going to give the board a 30% raise and more because it's going from per diem to per meeting. So I would think that this 3.5% shouldn't really get too much argument. And maybe you want to up it. I'm not going to be here, so I really don't care, but.
So,
But I would just hope that you don't argue too much about that whole whopping 3.5%.
so one thing I want the committee to think about, because I know during our budget process, at least I'm assuming that this is going to happen. There's going to be and we're talking about the treasurer's office. And this goes kind of is a little bit tied to the discussion we just had in regards to the sheriff's office, but it's a little bit different. And that is that in the treasurer's office, we're contemplating a new position, eliminating or transitioning the chief deputy's position into something different. And
I
what,
see.
yeah, pardon
I
me?
see what you wanted me to do.
Yes, now,
Now.
I can do it and then you can follow up and refute anything I'm about to say.
Okay.
So, and what we're thinking about is moving that chief deputy position into something more like a business office manager type position that would have educational requirements and experience in finances and be higher paid position in the office. The concept that Paula and I have been kind of working on, and Wendy, is that this position by its nature would be higher paid than the treasurer's office. So
Right. Then the treasurer probably will be paid,
yes,
because you're not going to get somebody with qualifications to work for 65 grand a year, 69 or whatever you're talking about, other than stupid people like myself. And apparently Paul Rudolphi, equally stupid.
I'm not even going to go there, but the difference is that in the sheriff's department, you definitely have the possible, there is more of a likelihood that you're going to have somebody that is going to run for sheriff's office that has extensive experience in the law enforcement area. That is not true in the sheriff's or in the treasurer's department. Treasurer could the treasurer could be elected that has zero financial background, and that's happened. And it's not that saying that those people did a subpar job. It's just that we're trying. I think what we're trying to get to as the county progresses, I think it's understood that there's a need that we have a good professional background in regards to the financial management of this county, and we're trying to work towards that. And someone with a higher educational requirement level in that office would go a long ways to do that. So we're staying with the proposal as is, but I want the committee to be thinking about how this new business management position could fit in and have that looked at. So we don't need to talk about that now. I just want the committee to be thinking about that as we go into budget cycle. Go ahead, Tim.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chairman, for making my previous point. I appreciate that. Percentage wise over the chief deputy, what is the percentage between the treasurer and your chief deputy difference?
About 25% probably.
25%? Less.
I guess, well, if you're taking
Treasurer
in
makes
the,
less than the chief deputy.
No. Chief deputy.
Right, okay, that's what I'm after, is the difference, the gap is 25%.
yeah, at least.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have the proposal of the treasurer's salary. Is there any comments? Any discussion? So I'd entertain a motion in regards to the treasurer's salary. Get something on the floor. Yeah, hey, sidebar, guys. Phew.
This
Oh my
is,
God,
this
I
is
got to
clerk
use the
and
gavel once.
treasurer, I believe. Yes.
What's that one?
Clerk and treasurer, Paula just clarified. Oh, you're gonna take
Yeah,
one at a time?
we're taking
Okay,
them one at a time.
perfect.
Oh, we're doing it.
So we're at the treasurers. Is there any motion or change from the salary proposal in front of you?
Ask me again, Rick. I'm not sure I'm following you.
You got 3% increase.
That's a,
That over the basis currently or what the proposed?
Should have been more over where the base is currently, if I did my math right, Rick, but that's what I intended. Yeah.
So if you look up at the comparable base, you have Lee County where the treasurer is at 66,612. And this would be moving the treasurer up base salary, no stipends to 69. Moved by Kitson, seconded by Mimini. Discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed? Motion carried. All right. So the last one we have to do is the clerks. And Nancy, I'm going to call on you. Do you have any comments you have to say about the proposal? No. Oh, I'm sorry. I misheard.
Motion's already passed.
Well,
Pick another one.
yeah, I had called for that to do them separately, Tom. Okay. All right. Nancy, do you have any comments?
I just want to make a few points on my behalf that the clerk's office also consists of 3 different departments. I have 8 employees that are underneath me. Again, I don't think I can pay extra for my chief deputy because somebody's not going to really have a degree in election. But as we all know, the election department is pretty layered, and there's a lot of things that can come up in that department. And then also, I just don't know if the finance committee also looks at the comparables to, you have 2 other offices in this building that are appointed and what their salaries are compared to an elected official. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. You have before you, the proposal would be to move the clerk salary from where it is now, 66,612, same as what the treasurer is, and the same base salary as the treasurer. So those are congruent to your point, Mr. Kitson. So let's get something on the table and then we can have discussion. Oh, do we have a motion for the clerk? No, we don't. We don't have a motion for the clerk yet, do we? Oh, okay. Motion by Kitson, seconded by, did we do this already? Mimini. I didn't think we did it for the clerk, Tom. I'm sorry. Did anyway. So we have a motion. The chair recognizes the motion on the floor now. Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, discussion on the motion.
I'm clear too, again, on the state stipend. And then put this in resolution. The state sets that, correct?
Yeah, but it hasn't changed in the number of years it's existed. But yes, it's the state thing.
Okay, so what I guess I'd like to see is our resolution. We're setting the base. The state stipend is whatever the state stipend is. I don't want to get in a situation where we're making up a difference.
Right.
Go down for whatever reason. Goes away.
So
I think
that's accurate. And in fact, that's what the statute calls for, is that you set the base, but in the resolution, it is also identified what the state stipend is. So that's exactly how it would be broken out.
Yeah, so it'll be transparent. Mr. Bivens.
I'm going to be voting no on this, not because I'm against the clerk or the treasurer or anybody. For some of the reasons you just stated about the disparity in how salaries are come to, well, they are out of whack. And we just had a conversation about spending more money than the elected official so we get somebody more qualified outside of the elected official. To me, that makes like 0 sense. Why don't we just pay the salary enough so we have interested people? That's my whole point. I mean, it's whether it's clerk, treasurer, whatever, if you want to attract
good people. And I get the argument, but as Liren pointed out, there's been a real inconsistency. And it hasn't started today. It's been going on for decades. There's no plan. We talked about economic plan earlier. There has to be a plan, and it's just all over the map most of the time. So I'm going to be voting no. Thank you.
Mr. Humphrey?
I don't disagree with them. I think that the only I'm not aware of offices, so my concern would be you get somebody that's not qualified to basically run an office. Fortunately, currently, we've got people that are qualified, but we might not always have the speed. So that would be, I mean, if the state changed that, we had to have a bachelor's or something in finance for the treasurer's office, for example. Maybe you could drum up a little bit more support, but you can get anybody up to school.
But it does attract more people. I mean, as far as treasurer goes, you know, I mean, how many accountants or financial people are going to have any interest whatsoever? We've been blessed for the last 4 years. And the other thing is it saves you a lot of money when you have qualified people, because you just look at, I always go back to the lawsuits. When people mess up, when they're unqualified, and they can cost you a lot of money. And that's why we need, I think it's very important. So anyway, thank you.
Any further discussion on the motion on the floor? Hearing none, all those signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? No and no. Motion carries. All
Jim,
right.
before you go on to the agenda here, also under the broad category of your agenda item, elected officials compensation, was the circuit clerk, only because traditionally they've been handled at the same time. Circuit clerk does not have the same statute that says it has to be set 180 days prior to election, because in fact, we know the election occurred some time ago. So you can defer till next month if you'd like, but at some point we do need to consider starting December 1, the compensation of the circuit clerk as well. Well, it's in my opinion, it's on the agenda under elected officials compensation.
Yeah,
So,
we didn't specify the
right.
kind of, so we can take care of Amy. No.
Well, I'm comfortable with you passing it off till next month. We've got a short window of time to finish up the rest of the items. I just wanted to point out to you that we do need to deal with that at some point prior to December 1.
Well, I'm going to defer to the committee. If you guys want to tackle the circuit clerks at some time, Charlie. The only problem with that I'd have with it is you don't have background material specific to, but is her numbers basically
Yeah,
the
the
same?
background is that that position has followed for the last 16 years in the same salary range with the treasurer and the clerk. So that's the only history that there is. And that position also qualifies for that state stipend of $6,500. So literally, I could have included them on this worksheet. It's just that she's a little different in that you don't have to set the salary right now.
So I'm going to defer to the committee. Committee, if you desire to take care of the circuit clerk's position now, I have no objection.
Correct.
I have a motion by Humphrey, seconded by Kitson. Discussion, and I'm going to call on our circuit clerk. Do you have any comments, Amy?
I just wanted to say, I do believe that department heads should be paid more than their employees. Sheriff, definitely. That's not the case in my office. I appreciate, the spreadsheet, Wendy. I think she did a good job. And I know that you guys compare the counties. I do get that. I did that myself. So I'm just going to leave it in your hands.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have a motion on the floor, so you can take basically the numbers, same numbers for, as I understand, is same
Correct.
numbers as far as background goes, the same as clerk and treasurer's office. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. All right. Chairman has not needed to vote because 3-2. I would vote yes. Well, all of the motions I'll be recognized as voting yes. Thank you for the holding the chairman accountable. Is that what that was? Well, I really appreciate the conversation. I think, it's a problem. And I appreciate the recognition and I think our elected officials appreciate the conversation that we just had, and we understand that it's especially in this situation we're at, we don't know what the future holds. But I think this is I think what we've done is fair to our elected officials and something that we move on with. So thank you. So this is all these things, of course, is moving on to executive. Okay, all right. Okay, item D, I'm going to, without objection from the committee, I'm going to suspend discussion on D, and we're going to move to new business.
Or B.
Oh, gosh. Thank you, Mr. Kitson, for I was jumping ahead. Okay. Item B, compensation for Lee County board members tabled in February. Make motion. I need a motion to take that off the table. Is there a motion? And again, we don't have to do this one. This one, the board member and the zoning planning commission, both B and C, is not time sensitive like A was. So if there's no desire for the committee to take this off the table at this point in time, is there a motion? Hearing no motion, we'll move on. B and C will remain on the table. Okay, Mr. Kitson makes motion to take C off the table. Is there a second? Seconded by Forrester. All right, all those in favor of taking C off the table signify by saying aye. All those opposed? Motion carried. All right, so C is off the table. So this is compensation for Lee County Zoning and Planning Commission members. There was a recommendation from, let me pull that up, from administrative, and that was, no, where'd that go?
So, Mr. Chairman, I'm a little fuzzy about whether the administration committee recommendation included planning and zoning. But per prior conversations in this meeting, I knew that there was an intention to move forward with whatever we did with the county board to planning and zoning. So I added that to your agenda for that reason. So what you're seeing there is actually dovetailing onto the recommendation out of administration for the county board per diem. That is correct.
These people are working every month on this job, putting a lot of extra time. Very, very much. No relationship. For that.
Are you making that a motion, Mr. Kitson? No. Okay, the motion on the floor is to move planning zoning committee members from a $60 per diem to $80 per diem. And that would be effective immediately. So this would have a budget impact on this year's budget. And so let me guess, are you going to second it? Right. Okay, so I need, Mr. Kitson needs a second.
For discussion.
Mr. Bivens makes the second. So discussion on the motion.
Yeah, I support the raise for the zoning board as well. The issue is that this year's budget is not budgeted. Wendy's form, I think, says it's going to be for next year's budget. So if for some reason
So my estimation of that, an annual basis was about $4,800. Of course, as you all know, that's going to vary depending upon how many meetings each planning and zoning have. And so $4,800 for the entire year. If you're going to do it now, it's, you know, some.
discussion, if I remember correctly, this is for the monthly meeting. Any increase for like a special project?
Define what you mean by a special project.
Say like we got a solar or wind farm, and they have multiple meetings. My understanding is those multiple meetings, scheduled monthly meetings, the cost is borne by the applicant.
The cost of the hearing officer for certain, it was not my understanding that that the developer was offsetting the cost of the, but it's possible, Rick. I just didn't know that. I think it's a great idea, but I'm not sure that's what's happening. I can go check if you want. And I figured it would be for all meetings, estimated meetings they would have, not just for the monthly meeting. So my estimate is going to be significantly higher if that's the case. I know you're anxious to move this forward, Tom, but can we follow up on that and come back next month? Yeah. Right. I think that's a significant point that needs to be made about the economic impact, and I need to follow up on that. So if you don't mind withdrawing whoever the second was, I don't remember.
Right. So we'd have to pull up the specific resolution that was passed coming from the zoning offices, but Becky and I's recollection is that resolution was to increase the cost of the permitting fees, but that didn't affect the compensation for the planning or the zoning folks. They were still remained at the $60 level. So.
I'll do some more research, Jim.
Withdraw a second.
Okay, motion on the table has been withdrawn by the first and the seconder. So I would entertain a motion that yes, it gets retabled off the table, back on the table. Mr. McKitson makes the motion, seconded by Bivens. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried. Thank you. No, understood. No, everything's good. We're just going to make executive really mad because we're taking up their allotted time now. All right, so now we're back to where I was going to go before, and that's to new business. I understand that. I'm without objection to the committee. I'm going to suspend the rules and move from old business to new business, and that'll be made clear why as we get there. So without objection from the committee to change of the agenda, we're going to into new business and point A, ARPA committee recommendations. Number one, revised estimate for approved ARPA request Sharrow's driveway expansion. You had that before you. This is recommendation coming from ARPA to and what that was. John, do you want to speak to it real quick?
That was the driveway that we were proposed by the time we got the bid approval back to them and the approval from ARPA. It was too late in the season for them do the asphalt driveway. So I had to get it rebid for this spring, and so it went up $600.
Yeah, it was something like that, $515, something like that. It's nominal amount of money, but he still had to bring it back to us. So recommendation from ARPA to spend, to amend that to the bid amount. So I'd entertain a motion to approve that, moved by Forrester, seconded by Bivens. All those in favor, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried. All right, number 2, additional community service application, Meals on Wheels. This is another one that was coming out of ARPA. And this is for $10,000. This would be the community service amount that was approved out of ARPA. Move to approve and move to executive by Mimini, seconded by Bivens. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried. Small business program, Wendy?
Sorry, well, I was off further into the agenda. Scared me. So the ARPA committee did approve a small business program. At this point in time, they've allocated $500,000 to that program. Staff has created an application process. Each small business can apply for up to $20,000 from the ARPA committee. There are some timelines laid out for how we envision this working. We're looking at having applications back, I believe, by June 30th. So at this point in time, there's really nothing that this committee needs to approve, but rather just a heads up that we're moving forward with that process. And when ARPA committee has some recommendations, they'll bring them back before finance and full board with regard to that program.
Any questions in regards to, because this is an information item only, no, I don't think we need a motion or anything on this. So just wanted to keep you guys informed on that. So now we go to number 4, the 2022 ARPA allocation for $1.5 million for county capital projects spent at the discretion of the finance committee. This goes, of course, we took the one-time allotment out of the ARPA funds, bring that into county general, as we discussed last month. And so what the ARPA committee did at their regular meeting was basically break down into sections what the rest, we have about $5.6 million of ARPA money that has remained uncommitted. So we've taken that money and we've kind of broken that into spending areas. And one of those is that to allocate $1.5 million for capital improvements for the county in this fiscal year. So this, I would ask for a motion to approve this for a recommendation at the full board. So I'd entertain that motion by Kitson, seconded by Humphrey. Discussion.
Jim, if I could just throw one thing out, Charlie just reminded me, and for point of clarity, it says at the discretion of finance, it's essentially going to allow you to allocate that money in the best way you see fit. But just a reminder, this is ARPA money, so every single one of these items will have to be approved by the full board because the full board is the spending authority. So just for clarity.
Just adding structure to the way that ARPA monies go out, we decided to do that.
Yep.
Not even really different than what it was.
We're just adding structure to the way things are done at the ARPA meetings.
That's correct. Thank you, John. Yes, we have a motion from Kitson and seconded by Bivens, right? Yeah. Or no, what was it? Humphrey, seconded by Humphrey. Yeah. It was motion by Bivens. It was, okay, Kitson and Humphrey, thank you. No, we were in discussion. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Okay, so,
Mr. Chairman,
yeah, Mr. Copine.
I apologize for the interruption, but I'd like to point something up out that we bypassed by trying to move quicker through the agenda. But the last item that was under old business, I face is a very critical issue that we need to address. If we could do that.
Yeah, I had a requirement that I had to do one thing first and then come back to that. So we're coming right back to that,
Right.
Mike.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate
Apologize.
the reminder. So, all right, we're going back to the original agenda, which takes us back to old business. And we have item D, the computer upgrades for EMA, EOC tabled in February. I need a motion to take that off the table. Moved by Kitson, seconded by Bivens. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. All opposed, motion carried. Okay, so you have the information before you. We have Kevin in the back who's been waiting patiently. Thank you, Kevin. If you would like to come up and talk to the committee about what this request is, and there is a little bit of a change from the information that's in front of you.
Just to quickly review, basically, without that, it's hard to function. Everybody functions with a laptop today or a desktop today. A lot of paperwork gets done, a lot of searches get done with computers, so it just makes it more efficient. In front of you, I think you have all the information on that. If there are any questions. He did not, because I didn't find out after my brother.
So, and now are you staying with the 17, or I thought that was going to come down
Well,
to?
we get this, yes, so
Yep.
what I would do is it's not a budgeted item, I can do maybe 10,000 this year and the other 7,800 next year in the budget, that's.
How many computers do you have in the EOC for, assuming we have an emergency and people come in, let's say, city police comes in, Ashton Fire comes in. Are they going to be using your computers or are they going to bring in their own?
They have to use ours right now because we don't have a method for them to bring in an outside computer beyond our network. It's just another security issue that we're working on. So utilities come in, they would want to bring their own computer, but right now we're working.
Okay, I'm just thinking that with their computer, they've got their contacts and, with your computer, they're starting blank.
So how does that work, Kevin? When you have that situation, and because I've wondered the same thing. Is
Really about the forms that are available on the server, we'll have a server that ICS forms that they'll have to completely fill out. 213s for requests, 214s what their activities are. I can go on and on for days on that. So those they need access to. They brought their laptop, then they could get there.
But during the actual emergency, they're going to need contacts and these forms after the.
Sit here, our computers sit here so they can.
Okay, so they're going to be bringing a computer in as well as.
Paul?
Kevin has a number of laptops available in his space for people to sit down and connect to services in the network. People could bring in their laptops and connect to the internet, but during an emergency, we don't even know if the internet's going to be working. And what we would need to do is to set up connection from those computers to whatever shared device. But that's not what Kevin's actually asking for. Kevin has laptops in his trailer. He has computers that run his AV equipment that are all, they were old when he got them. and they're even older now and they're not secure. So Kevin took my request to pull Windows 7 computers off the network immediately, and he jumped on it. And I really do appreciate it because it increases the security for our network. So what Kevin's looking for, and I've actually been talking to him about it, is to be able to replace the key computers in his trailer and the ones running his AV equipment and any other ones that he feels he deems emergency units. And this is just for the computers. Kevin's also reaching out for a match grant for some server equipment that these computers would actually connect to. So, and I want to thank Kevin for allowing me to use this space to test security in the county. And at this point, we could be able to bring in some outside computers and actually print to the printers in a space based on that testing. So thank you very much, Kevin, for your assistance.
Okay, so you have the information on this, and so we're going to, well, I thought I had it down here, but anyway.
So Kevin, can you clarify, your request is for the original 17, or you're saying at the discretion of the finance committee, you'd split that? The remaining.
And again, prices are changing. All these are 60 days old on the costing, so they could change.
Well, two questions, I guess, for probably for Paul, I don't, or Kevin, perhaps. You know how you're running on your existing budget? Behind, ahead of it, you have extra money there. And second one, for Paul, what do you think? How
Not all of it yet, and that's what I need to wrap up some work in the circuit clerk's office and in the jail, and there may be some money available within that line item for additional computers to help out Kevin, but not nearly all the ones that he needs. Again, we're still wrapping up some upgrades in the circuit clerk office, and LEC has some old Windows 7 computers that we're still retiring too. So,
And I'll add that you're going to notice there's some IT requests coming further down on your agenda here. So there's some unexpected things coming out of IT as well.
which I was hoping to tap into any extra money that I didn't spend on computers for that, so I didn't have to come to you for more money.
So the reason why we changed the agenda was to do the $1.5 million of the ARPA money for that's the discretionary spending. So we've got that done. So what the committee can do is make a recommendation that the amount requested by Kevin can come out of the discretionary $1.5 million. That 1.5 million would be going into capital, so that we would have the dollars available in capital to use for this expenditure.
And I would add the caveat that is pending full board approval of this allocation of
that's correct.
1.5 million.
It would be contingent upon that, Mr. Humphrey. When I did the quick math, I didn't think it did.
Not what's on the agenda today, but
No.
I think Rick's point is, yeah, he's been hearing about lots more.
Peter to pay Paul. I guess I'm looking at what we've already got approved in capital. Is there $10,000, which I see a lot of. We haven't done anything with the panic alarm system yet, the low pole bounce generator. $137,000 for that. Maybe that's still going to happen, but it's going to happen here. So my point is, Just take out capital instead of leave the ARPA fund alone until we know what.
That would be the discretion of the committee. And I would have no objection either way. Mr.
Motion that we take capital. And if the computer's done, then.
Okay. Moved by Humphrey that $10,000 for the computer replacement for the EOC is the motion, and made by Humphrey, seconded by Mimini. Discussion, and I guess I would, Paula, is that would that be we make this work in capital as it stands outside of the ARPA money?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, thank you. Any further discussion? Paul?
Well, am I to understand you're approving $10,000 in additional IT equipment out of existing capital for to meet part of Calvin Lally request? Is that correct?
Not out, this is out of capital, not out of your
It's out
budget.
of capital. I just want to know, in terms of timing to help Kevin deploy the equipment, that's all. So he's getting about half of what he's asking for right now, right?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried. Thank you. Okay, all right, item B in new business. Yes, now we're out of old business, going back into new business. Item B, budget adjustment for approved raises. Paula.
Okay, so during the budget process last year, we set aside $200,000 even for raises because we were in negotiations with the union and you guys had not yet chosen non-union salaries. So union negotiations are over. Salaries have been approved. So this budget adjustment takes that 200,000 and puts it into the individual departments that are going to use it. I calculated what each department was going to need and allocated that 200,000.
Any questions on what we're doing here, Mr. Humphrey?
On the resolution.
Yes. Yes.
Not in your IT overtime.
Yes.
How's that?
Because they've started to need to use overtime because they're doing all these projects around here. So the little bit of surplus that I had left in there, I put to the IT overtime because they're going to end up using it. And we're going to have to do a budget adjustment later. I thought it should come out of the salary line item instead of the remaining 50,000 in contingency that we'll reallocate at the end of the year. A total of it's
I think it's the exact, isn't it exactly
it's-
the 200,000 that you had
Yeah.
in contingencies?
That was my
So,
understanding, everything she had.
hold on, let me get that.
But I think that's all that she's got in the resolution.
Well, because I did the calculation at the front end of what it was going to be based on some estimates. So, so if you look at this resolution, all of those
I know
are
it's
the
hard,
amounts
Rick,
that are
but you
going to
gotta
be
get
used by
through that
each one of those departments. And the difference, the remaining amount difference was $9,631. And I ended up taking that to get me to the full 200,000. I gave that to IT overtime. The assessors. Yeah. No, the assessor hadn't gotten a raise for this year. She was appointed last fiscal year. She was appointed last July in fiscal year 21. So she hadn't yet received a raise for 22. Unless we misunderstood your motion.
Okay, any other questions in regards, well, first of all, we need a motion on the floor. Entertain a motion to approve the resolutions as presented. Moved by Memney, seconded by Forrester. Any further discussion? I know we lost Tom. He'll be back.
Let's keep this big.
Yeah, I know. He's coming. We have a motion, Tom, we have a motion and a second on the table in regards to the resolution as presented by the treasurer. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, motion carried. Okay. So we've got C, D, E, F, G, I don't know, F. That's all in the maintenance department. What my intent is, Greg, and the committee, it would be that we would discuss each individual item as presented, but we would consolidate when we get to the motion side of it. We'll consolidate those and do it all in one motion. No objection. So let's do that. Well, let's have Greg come up and Tom. Tom was here, but okay. And we'll have discussion on the individual points and then but my intent would be to roll that into one motion.
I'm up there.
Yeah, come on up, Greg. I wish I could defer responsibility, but it always comes back to the chair, doesn't it? It's all the chair's fault. Yeah, we'll take it, unless they want to pull something out. Department. Yeah, go ahead, Greg.
For the new courthouse, the first year is $31,045. And if you go with a 2-year and a 3-year, it's prorated, so it continues down, the increase doesn't go up that much because they're already a customer for the first year. So at the end of the 3rd year, it's $32,935. The washing oil and like the builders, check belt, they do that quarterly, and then they check, put the computer on the system, diagnose, and make sure everything's operating up to par. In parts that look like do that. They do the low courthouse, of course, we've got newer units going in on the roof, but it would be beneficial for the boiler because it's 3 years old now and we've been having a lot of trouble with so they're being quite old and ragged, so it's down the line. The old courthouse was Very beneficial if it's just keeps emergency calls down where something goes down and we're not aware of it. So we come in that Monday morning or late at night and I get an alarm on my phone saying, you know, something's down when I get here. It could have been something that could have been being checked up. So that's what we're requesting. We voted it down and for the old, or for the new jail last year for a maintenance contract because it was newer equipment. Now we're 3 years old. They're all
Mr. Nicholson.
I truly think this is a great idea. Anybody, we've been trying to do this for about 20 years and due to lack of revenue, some of the maintenance contracts have gone by the wayside. Mr. Hinkle and his maintenance crew and previous supervisors have been able to kind of Band-Aid it and baling wire and clothespin it together, and it's lasted much longer than we even anticipated. But I think with the advent of the newer technology, I think we'd be really amiss not to approve these maintenance contracts.
So the question I had, Greg or Tom, is the request for the first year, is this a 3-year deal that we're actually signing or?
And they prorated down to what salary and their charge rate goes up, so they figured that in, you can do a 1-year plan, or you can do a 2-year plan, or you can do a 10-year plan. On that, and you after that for another year.
So is your recommendation for the 3-year or single year?
Yeah, my recommendation would be for 3 years because you're really not raising it a whole lot from the first year to the third year. I think that, you know, they wait a year in order to pay the right period.
And this would be the individual proposals are for the old courthouse and the new courthouse. Is there another one for the, I didn't see
I
the,
don't have the new jail yet, I'm still waiting. We take for the call, but they know what the
okay, so all we're looking at is the 2 for right now. Thank you. Okay, Mr. Humphrey.
budget, so you have budgeted fully support maintenance. Here. Other concern is that we don't have the details proposal yet. I'd like to see them all 3 together, so we know for sure what the cost is going to be. I'd be in favor of tabling this at all 3 bids.
Mr. Wilson, would you have any comment in regards to what Mr. Humphrey just said?
Yeah, with the new boiler project that we're going to be installing or awarding soon, we have some time, but a 6-month lull in a maintenance thing just to get to the next budget is not acceptable because there's necessary things for adjustments and all that type of stuff. When we start putting in new equipment, the money spending the kind of money we're going to spend, we need to maintain what we're installing. So however that has to be, I mean,
So if we have the LEC bid here for next month, do you see a problem with
No, I
deferring this consideration to another month?
No, I don't see that being a problem. Greg, you don't see that being a problem? Yeah, that's fine. But once we start putting all this money into these facilities, you have to maintain the investment.
Okay.
Question probably for Tom, I mean, is it more beneficial if we include all 3 as a package?
They can certainly look at that, but the amount of work, they're basing all their information on what we currently have and what we are going to have as far as equipment to maintain. So I'm sure they're gonna have to take and look at what they've got out at the new jail to, it's all based on time and filters and all that kind of thing.
Got a larger package together, it makes their time better spent when they come down. They can maybe do 2 or 3 buildings or whatever, and you can see the truck versus having to come back to individual buildings.
Sure. Okay, so we're gonna table this to next month of consideration of these preventive maintenance contracts with Hartwig. No, we'll do this separate since it's being pulled out. So yes, motion to table, moved by Kitson, seconded by Humphrey. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, motion carried. Okay, so now we're to D.
Right now.
That is the elevator replacement.
Yeah, we'll just take.
All right.
Control for these elevators that is not sort of.
Okay, so just, I had said that when we started with Greg that we're gonna roll this all in one motion, talking with Becky, it's not gonna really speed anything up. And I was thinking more for the board agenda, but anyway, we'll take these one at a time, just so you know. So, you know what, so you have the proposal in front of you. I'd entertain a motion to approve as presented. Moved by Humphrey, seconded by Kitson. Discussion.
They're all at the age, you never know. I'm not sure what the current, how old that elevator is. I'm sure it's old. But we have.
Yeah, and not to exceed 190,000.
Shut it down.
So just to, before I got Liam first and then you, Rick. So just be clear, what the motion is on the table is as proposed is a not to exceed $190,000 coming out of the ARPA money that went into capital. So Liam. Yes.
Oh. 190,000.
We don't really have a firm bid yet. They give me a ballpark because they.
No, I don't know about that.
There's a lot of, sorry, Greg, there's a lot of information that, and engineering that has to be done before they can give us a price. And when we enter into a contract with them to replace the elevator, all the engineering will be done and then they'll be brought to us with a final cost of that. But we have to approve the fact that we're gonna put a new elevator in. They have to come in and engineer the elevator to fit the current shaft that's already there, that's 43 years old.
So Tom, is it accurate on the form? Because I got to go by the forms that you guys submit. So the form says 190,000 and not to exceed request of 190,000. Is that where we're at? What, I mean.
Ballpark figure that came out, was, 310,000.
I do that 1.5 million.
What? No, escalators are more expensive.
No.
I have experience on those.
Anything that's being proposed there.
In the mic, Miriam, please.
It doesn't work. They've done their legwork. They've done their homework. I know this stuff needs to be fixed. But everything is here is under ARPA. The maintenance also. What happens when this money runs out?
Yeah, so what we did was we put 1.5 million in capital. So once that money is gone, it's gone. That's, yeah, I don't know what your point is. I mean, it's just like anything else. When we put $1 million and we budget, $1 million out of capital, once that money's spent, it's spent. So that's capital. Yes.
Reliability wise. I understand that. I think it's great. Do we get a bid just to keep them in check? You can always take the more reliable bid if that's what we feel.
I agree. Yep. It's sort of an emergency type thing.
I get it.
because, we've got a lot of people who use that elevator. But I can get a hold of it. I agree for that amount of money this year.
Yeah, we need to do it. But.
I'm calling Mike.
We're looking at the weekend.
Yeah.
So I guess, Greg, I mean, the motion that's on the table, we were going off that as proposed of 190,000. Now, I'm a little bit at a loss of what you want the finance committee to do here.
So the 190,000 was just for part of the system. We're looking for everything. And all additions onto that 195,000, and then about the total amount. So, and that's not, we still don't know what all other additions we're gonna have to have for electrical and, all those other things.
So I guess we're gonna have to backtrack. In my view, what do you need approval from the finance committee to keep the project? I think we have to keep the project moving forward. Elevators, it is what it is. What do you need from the finance committee right now?
Don't even damn it.
That's why.
Well, okay. No, I mean, it's not just the money. So we're way over. This has to go out for a formal bid by statute.
No,
No, here, I need some clarification because, okay, Paula, go ahead.
so if you have a single source in the Illinois Procurement Code, Amy, Wendy, whoever you are, we were just looking this up. Of course, we have a new purchasing policy coming out too that's going to reflect all of this. And the old one actually reflects it right now. It reflects the Illinois Procurement Code Act. So if you have a single source that you have to replace, you don't have to bid it out. And if you've got a hole that's only going to fit a Kone, then
Which is what
you're
my
going to have to buy a
understanding was.
Kone.
It was my understanding that it's literally the hole we have to fit to replace. can only be provided by that single source. And so that's what I thought the situation we were in. And I have to apologize, Jim. It might be my fault, the 190, because I took that from information I had, and it sounds like Greg had additional information that. Yeah, okay, so that I have to take responsibility for that. So that's the challenge. I was under the impression that we really wanted a not to exceed number today because you need authorization to move forward. And if you get your proposal quicker than next month, you want to be able to say yes, because we're what, 6-8 months out from getting these things. So again, I know that I'm not trying to sound like I'm putting pressure on you, but that's why the proposal came forward today, is because we are in a situation where we don't have that elevator. IT will tell you that that's a critical elevator for them to move equipment up and down to where they are located on the, what I call basement, others call the second floor of the original building. So I think there's a critical need here. Jim, again, I'll take responsibility for the 190. I think you just need to look for, if you don't already have a motion for a not to exceed number at Greg's recommendation, and give him the authority to move forward.
So do we need to adjust that number to reflect?
Yeah, do we have a motion already on the table?
We have a motion
Okay.
to, as proposed, and the proposal was 190.
Sorry,
So-
so whoever
so-
made that motion, are you willing to retract that and?
Okay, it was, do you remember who? Humphrey and Kitson, do you rescind your, or do we need to rescind? We actually. Okay, so you retract your motion, first and seconder. So now we would entertain, see, do we need?
Like I'm gonna ask to buy a car and just tell them I'll take it, whatever the hell the price is, I'm gonna pay it.
Well, I agree.
Sorry, you wouldn't buy more than a new car.
The only problem in the experience I've had with elevators, it's almost always that way. Yeah, you know, you're over a barrel.
But I don't think, Tom, I think what we're trying to say is that we don't have an option, that company that built the original box, the original hole in the wall there, is the company we have to work with going forward. We don't have any indication that if another company came in and gave us a bid, we probably could get bids, guys. But then if you've got to rebuild the wall and the floor and the area around it, you're certainly looking at much higher prices than we are here. So I'm not sure it'd be prudent to do that. I understand your concern. Yeah, this is a lot of money. I understand your concern. Right, I know, and I understand.
I know exactly where you're getting at, Tom, and I don't disagree. Yeah, it's basically, we're being asked to sign a blank check and. Yeah. All right, so we have a rescission, but we have to move forward. We have an elevator that needs to be replaced. Mr. Humphrey.
We have to go find Jennifer. All the way through the health department. They have to roll all the parking there to the elevators all the way to the south. Then they can go.
So should not do that for 6 months.
Right.
So it's not like we can't access every
More
floor.
related.
No,
The 6 months.
we get it.
Out here.
I think it's a fair statement. I think it's a fair statement to say that when the chairman came to the ARPA committee last week with this proposal to take and allocate 1.5 of ARPA, you can argue whether you like that or not, but it was some of these emergent issues that were on his mind, I think, when he came forward with this, and this was one of them. I think that's a fair statement.
That is a fair statement.
Yeah, I guess what I'm, would we behoove ourselves to reach out to some other people and just see by chance if there's another company out there that can meet our needs and get some bids, so we know that we're getting the best bang for our buck. I'm not trying to delay it any longer.
And I could contact Tony and say, hey, can you send a guy out and give us a price?
I mean, I think we need that regardless, you know.
Yeah.
And if they will do it
And I can
without
do
charging
the
us.
voters, and then we can have our fair story. Yeah, not.
So would you be comfortable to keep the maintenance department moving forward? Would you be comfortable with setting that not to exceed number? Give him the heads up to keep moving forward and then come back to the table if it exceeds your not to exceed number. So back to our 190 or whatever. Would you feel better about that?
I personally, I don't know what an elevator costs, so I'd be pulling a number out of the air, not to exceed. I mean, it's $750,000. We could do this all day long.
So I think to move forward, I think it would be better that we give authorization to the finance committee to have an engineer look at an alternative look at the elevator. We give you authorization for that, and that's going to be at a cost. I don't know what that's going to be, but we'll give you authorization to pay that for that consulting fee or whatever you want to call it. And then we'll have, you can bring a proposal, bring it through properties and bring a proposal to the finance. But I agree, I can't, I have a hard time getting my head wrapped around giving authorization to a not to exceed number of that extent without firm bids. So, well, that doesn't serve our purposes for today, Greg. I mean, we're gonna have to, we're gonna have to move on from that. Is that be a reasonable way to move forward for you? Everybody understand what we're doing then? Yeah, Paul?
Thank you. As IT has an invested interest in this project, does Greg or Wendy request any specific money to pay for a review or approval? Not the full, but do you expect to have any cost to be incurred part of your estimates or your tighter quotes? If so, I would ask the finance committee to approve at least that amount of money if you don't already have it.
Well,
I just like to keep
we
it moving along. The last project I was involved with an elevator was at the college I'm a trustee for, and in 2017-18, that was $225,000 in a brand new building. So.
Appreciate the comment, Paul, and that's what we're doing. We're giving authorization for Greg to bring in another consultant, possibly get a firmer and give us a firmer estimate on costs. Move by Humphrey, seconded by Kitson to direct Greg Saunders to get that information. He's authorized to incur some consulting costs for that. All right, everybody understand what the motion is? Any further discussion? Hearing none, everyone's in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Okay. Item F, lead abatement contract for the old LEC range. Greg, go ahead.
The quote for that abatement was $33.50, $3,350. did figure that, oh, and then it's $1,500 extra for disposal of. So that $1,500 that.
Okay, so I have a cost of proposed action of 5,500, Greg. So are we at the 5,500 number?
Probably might be a little lower than that. I don't think they're gonna have that many barrels of.
So do you want that number as a not to exceed number?
Oh, yeah, that'd be fine.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't we already approve up to 30,000, 29,999? So,
That was for the engineering cost only.
Apples and oranges, Rick.
So far today, we've used 4,000 plus 1,500, $5,500. Yeah,
already approved up to 30,000, basically. if you know the exact
Oh, that money was not allocated for.
John, in the
Considering
mic,
now and all.
please. John, in the mic.
Yeah, I'm sorry, that 29,999 was not that was for engineering and design and so on and so forth. This is for removal of hazardous material in the old shooting range. And so it's apples and oranges.
So, okay, I would entertain a motion to, actually, we're getting into discussion. I'd entertain a motion to approve this one as presented by maintenance and to add in the words not to exceed $5,500. Moved by Kitson, seconded by Humphrey. Discussion. Under the proposal, this is coming out of ARPA funds. All of these that you've seen coming before Greg have been requested to come out of ARPA. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carried. All right. All right. Greg, I think you're off the hot seat. No?
I don't have a break back on it. They did the testing and I haven't.
Oh.
What we've got here, Greg, is for the quote to do to come back and give you a further estimate. Have we allocated money for that already, or was that going to come out of your $985? Yes, were you just intending for that to come out of your budget, or we thought you were looking for additional money here?
You're not mic'd. You're not. You're not mic'd. Okay, so are we clear? We still need to do the $985. So entertain a motion for the asbestos testing as proposed, $985 coming out of ARPA, moved by Kitson, seconded by Humphrey. Discussion. I understand. Okay. Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carried. Now you're off the hot seat, Greg. Paul, you're up. We're at item G, court building network switch quote.
Hey, Paul, for some reason that mic isn't working, so would you use your normal projecting voice and just, speak up? Yes, louder, please.
All right, so I'm asking for some, almost $10,000 for a couple of network switches, which is backbone of our network, which should have been purchased as part of the 2020 installation of Wi-Fi network and telephone installation in Newport. Without these switches, I can't complete the installation of the Wi-Fi network or add some additional equipment that has just come in or will grant money through the park system. And this would put us at just enough equipment that we would need in Newport to support this new equipment and the Wi-Fi equipment that was installed back then. But doesn't provide any backup. And it's another concern I have in mind. If one of the switches goes bad in the town, we don't have it here. Pretty these switches to keep wrap up the Wi-Fi installation in Newport and to support some new printers and court docket monitors getting installed in Newport.
Okay, we've heard the explanation. I'd entertain a motion to approve as presented for the IT department, these network switches in the new courthouse. Moved by Bivens, seconded by Farstner. Discussion. Anybody have any questions on this request? Go ahead, Mr. Humphrey. It's in the proposals. It's ARPA money. It's being requested.
All has some money still in their budget. First.
Not for equipment here.
Oh, that's computers in here.
Yeah, I'm going to upgrade the rest of them to Windows 7. I know that we have so I'm assuming that you have to pick up the house.
Now Kevin was he was gonna forego that till next.
Yeah, he was splitting that request, Paul, from this fiscal year to the next fiscal year. Yeah, so that won't come out of your budget. Tom.
All we have is money available.
Okay, that is kind of unlike you, Tom. I like that.
But I appreciate the request because our network vendor tells us the switches are becoming rare right now because of we actually pre-ordered the two. If I can find the money, and he said maybe. So, and we have 9 of these switches throughout the county. And if any of the LED fails or the Newport fails or the Folkport fails, we would have a spare available. But that support system would be the Zoom capability, telephone capability, and internet capability.
You were talking about preventive maintenance of other equipment. We all believe it. This is the opportunity that money is available to upgrade that.
You're free to make an amendment to the motion, Tom. Yep.
Conversation, I don't want to amend the motion. It's going to fail.
The other option is back to Rick's, usual point, he could actually budget for this and have a spare coming forward out of next year's budget too, because it sounds like it's not an automatic that he's going to be able to get one of these available. So I'd say we definitely plan ahead for that and get a spare one.
I was gonna say, if we approve the original request, can you get the third out of your budget since? Because it seems like there's some misunderstanding where Kevin's money was coming from.
Well, no, okay, I pre-spent some, again, it's a board request last year for some of these. Those an upgrade this week.
I still have 12 Windows 7 computers upgrades that $10,500. I wouldn't have enough money to eke out another switch. I might be able to eke out one. So I could apply it for it. And but I had traffic.
So Tom, I really appreciate where you were going with that, but for the sake of expediency, how about we take care of the motion at hand and then, give Paul some guidance to plan for that in next year's budget.
Okay, so we have the motion on the table is to approve the purchase of these network switches as proposed. All those in favor, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Paul, next.
We're consolidating the IT server in the county that was proposed, brought to a couple of board members that we might relocate to the second floor of Newport. And so we got both until it's not the server space.
$26,494.
And that's to build out the server room. That includes the
Correct.
And this would consolidate, move much of our IT infrastructure from Old Port and one location to Newport to Seven Valley, so it'll be ready for the second floor. It'll be more secure, it'll be off the beaten path, and it'll consolidate all the server one location. Yeah. And that's because last year, because either Newport or old LP.
And Paul, Wendy, whoever wants to answer, this is congruent with our purchasing policy.
Yes.
This is not a bidded item. Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Humphrey.
Question is, I mean, if you're just moving, what is this, what are we actually approving here? Is it additional hardware? Don't we have that hardware and stuff?
No, the new server racks for new switch, we're actually pulling some of the cabling from first floor circuit office down into second rewire of the fiber optic. Also putting battery backup in the backup that server space, that space currently is on the generator circuit where we don't know what
So if
Okay.
I could address that real quick, Rick, we're somewhat in the same situation that maintenance is, and that some of these servers are at the end of their useful life. So as part of our consolidation of data backup, security, et cetera, we are looking to consolidate into one physical location. I think everybody, you don't have to be an IT person to be able to understand that if we have 15 different servers in 15 different locations, it makes it a whole lot more labor intensive to maintain, to secure, to back up data. Our goal, strategic long-range goal, is to get everything under one secure location that does have that backup. And then we can back up data out of it instead of trying to back it up out of, again, 15 different servers and 15 different locations.
Okay, Marilyn. Okay, the committee has heard the explanation. We need to get a motion on the table, and then we can discuss further. Moved by as proposed And you understand where the funding source is coming again. Moved by Kitson, seconded by Mimini. Discussion. Marilyn, you had your hand up.
This proposal is for hardware. Would your staff do the actual pulling of the cables and moving things, or do we have another bill coming?
And that's, you probably, do you have that in front of you, Marilyn? I
Okay,
think that's
I didn't
installation
see that
server
line.
room
I'm
pack
sorry.
of $4,400.
No, I missed that line. I was looking at hardware, and
Right, I understand.
Well, the equipment is actually, some of the previously approved equipment was previously before that already come together. It's, pretty much dependent on what you approve it, also and the improvement of the electric department. So we're looking at late May, June, depending on when the electrical and heat.
And also in there, you want to remember that we have a primary election happening the end of June. And I don't know if you know that the server is located in the same section of my election equipment.
Then we start the migration of individual servers. And after general election, probably. For her.
Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion, or those opposed, motion carried. Item I is, that's actually been withdrawn. I think understood that that item is going to be taken as a, and this has to do with fuel in the sheriff's department. We're going to consolidate with that with the budget request amendments coming later in the year, John. But if you want to speak to it, go ahead.
No, it's not code red right now. I think I've got enough money to get us through maybe July. So a request will be coming in before budget hearings to get us through the rest of the year.
Very good. Thank you. Okay, item J, board chair conference room remodel. I guess, Greg, where'd Tom go? Do you want to speak or?
I think I will, Jim, if you want.
Okay, thank you.
So the room we're calling now the board chair conference room is the former space occupied by the zoning department. And what we're looking to do there is to do a bit of a refresh, several different things that we'd like to do. For those of you who have been in the room recently, you know there's a lot of stuff stored in there. We don't have a good storage place. We need to repaint, and Tom's proposal was to put in some durable flooring, not carpet, get away from the carpet. Carpet in there is quite old. But our purpose here in doing that is to obviously refresh the room. It provides a professional environment for the board chairman's meetings, which I think many of you have participated in over the last few months. And lastly, but most important to I think Becky and I, is to provide some storage space for all the stuff that's sitting in there outside of closets. So we're looking at cabinets and countertops and flooring and painting. The idea being that we're purchasing things that the maintenance department staff, Tom would like to use this as an opportunity to train some of them on doing some of these things, whether it be flooring installation or cabinet hanging, those types of items. I kept, help me out, Becky, if you have that copy of that form, because I left it in on my desk. Thank you. So
Does
these-
the committee have this estimate?
I literally got this estimate this morning, so I'm sorry that you don't
No,
have
no,
it.
Becky's
Becky's got it. All right.
Becky's
So these are Tom's projections on a not to exceed number in the amount of, well, the amount that's given in this quote here by Tom is 23,109. So if you wanted to round 23,500 or 24,000, a not to exceed number. And I would entertain any questions that anybody has.
Where's that coming from?
So, and also the discussion that I had with Chairman of Properties would be that Tom is going to be working with maintenance staff. And there's going to be some training involved in getting, and Greg, if you'd like to speak to this as well, you can. But it would also give an opportunity to train some of Greg's people as far as proper painting methods, there's some issues in regards to the plaster and there's a specific word that Tom used that I can't say. Greg, can you say it for me? It having to do with the water leaching and whatnot.
Right. It's a mess up there. So it's going to be a little bit of replastering and stuff tearing out. And we have a lot of stuff to get out of the way to do that, of course. But yeah, it's going to be sort of a training thing for some of my employees to do some stuff that they haven't done before. And Tom can give us, my guys, a little guidance on that, I think.
And the intent, as Mr. Wilson has explained to me, that this is going to be kind of a test bed to be able to do this type of thing and remodeling and repurposing through this entire building and also across the street. So there's your explanation. I'd entertain a motion to approve as presented with the caveat that probably a not to exceed of 24,000. I'd entertain that motion. Moved by Kitson, seconded by Bivens. Discussion. Mr. Kitson. Yes.
Word you're looking for is effervescence.
Effervescence. Thank you, John.
We have
Say that
a-
3 times.
Thank you.
We have a lot of it throughout the courthouse, and if they can train over there, it will save the county substantial money down the road if we can successfully cure that. It's just a natural occurring thing based on stone buildings. Simple as that.
Especially ones that haven't had the tuck pointing done and are wicking
Right.
water.
That's why it was done. One of the reasons.
Yes. My understanding. No?
Straight time versus
Yes.
overtime, is that what you're saying? Yes, we're not anticipating any overtime.
Yep. Good question, though. Any other questions in regards? Mr. Chairman, do you want to make any comments?
No, I just, I think it'd be a good experience for our staff, and I think the only thing that we gotta hire out is the plumbing, and there's something else, electrical, baby.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. All opposed? Motion carried. We took care of the executive session material in open session. We're at the end. I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. Thank God. Moved by Kitson, seconded by Bivens. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate your patience. I'm sorry that this meeting went so long. I'll be paying attention to that issue, and we may have to start at 8 o'clock. So.